Lately, I've been thinking a lot about how numb everything has gotten for me personally. Like, nothing hits the same anymore. Music, food, even love. It's like I'm chasing something a high that never lasts. And I think the problem is much more deep than the concept of, oh, I'm just bored. I think it's a dopamine issue. And I think that issue not only applies to me, but a lot of you listening as well. You see, we grew up being fed dopamine on demand. The boom in technology led to instant gratification 24/7, right? You see video games lighting up our screens, constantly trying to get to that max level, to get to that final destination in that video game. Notifications dropping like mini hints of validation from Snapchat and Instagram. You scroll, you like, you swipe, and you repeat on TikTok, YouTube. Our brains get addicted to it. There's something about it that is addicting. And I think that's how it was meant to be. It's meant to be that way so that you stay on whatever it is you're addicted to, whether that's social media, video games, pornography, whatever that is. There's a dopamine hit every single time. There's pleasure seeking in it. And I think that our society is failing to realize that we're starting to normalize that this is normal. This is how it's meant to be. And what happens when you flood your brain with dopamine constantly is you start needing more and more of it to feel normal. And that's just not my opinion. That's the science behind it. You can look up the studies that have been done on dopamine, and it's shocking how there's a dopamine deficient state, right? It's when your brain is in an effort to kind of balance out all your stimulation and it turns down your ability to feel pleasure at all. It's like you get to the high and then you immediately drop. And that high needs to be higher and higher each time in order to feel anything. It's like your brain is putting on like noise canceling headphones, right? Like, yeah, I'm going to tune everything out. And then you realize that your brain is tuning everything out good in your life just to protect itself from its overload. So, in our personal lives, it looks like we just constantly need this background noise. I don't know if you've ever realized that you find yourself constantly needing to watch something. You're constantly needing to be doing something, right? And doing something is not necessarily a bad thing, but you find yourself like, oh, I constantly need this stimulation. I constantly need to be listening to music. I constantly need to be watching YouTube. I constantly need to be watching TikTok. And your brain is always constantly working and working and working. And you're constantly trying to get this dopamine hit that you get every single time you open these apps. And it turns into you start needing more and more just to feel normal, to appreciate your life. And that's why a walk in nature for a lot of people doesn't feel like enough. It's why deep work and working towards a goal feels boring. Why real intimacy feels like so much effort. Because we're overstimulated and undersatisfied. In our personal lives, we're seeing this and we're labeling it as burnout, that we're lazy, that everything's boring. But that's just because our brains are fried. We can't sit long enough to really feel anything. That's why a lot of people can't do meditation or prayer because it's too quiet. There's this constant need for that noise. And even sexually, people are chasing extremes because it's developing them into a sexual addiction, whether that's through pornography or just being too sexually active. Then you wonder why real connection feels so awkward or empty. It's because there's a constant need to ghost, detach, scroll, because you have that ability now that you didn't used to have. And I'm not trying to preach this and saying, oh, I understand it, you guys don't. I'm saying it as someone who's kind of stuck in it too. I understand what's going on, and I'm trying to bring other people to that light. I've had days where nothing brings me joy. And that concerns me. It concerns me that doing the things I used to love no longer brings me happiness, no longer brings me a kind of stimulation. And I realized that I need to train my brain to need more than life was ever supposed to give. So I still need to train my brain to cut out the dopamine, to cut out that constant seeking of pleasure. What's in it for me? Nothing. Well, then why do I want to do it? I constantly have to seek the things that I find mundane in order to cleanse myself of it. It's like when you get addicted to a drug, you're supposed to wean yourself off of it. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to wean myself off of the dopamine by doing things that I wouldn't necessarily do because I would find them boring. And they still are boring, but I'm doing them so that I can get used to that feeling of doing those boring, mundane tasks. Because when you stop doing all the exciting stuff, you stop trying to get that instant gratification, then your brain slowly starts to find that dopamine in the things it used to, the normal things, doing hard work, working towards a goal. You know, it's not something that's easy because you're rewiring your brain essentially, but I think it's something that's absolutely necessary for everybody to do, because if you see it in today's society, you can see that generation after generation is starting to get affected by it, and I think it has the potential to ruin a lot of people, if not the world. And I don't think dopamine is the villain. I'm not saying that. I think it was God put that in us to help us feel motivated, curious, alive. The problem is we've been spending it on cheap hits. We've been trying to find the easy way to get a dopamine hit, whether that's through drugs, sexual stuff, gaming, videos, whatever it is. Your brain was meant to earn that dopamine. If you've ever noticed how sometimes when you work hard on something for a really long time, whether that's at work, in a video game, in a relationship, and it comes to fruition, you notice that you get a dopamine hit. That's because that's how it's meant to be. You're supposed to work really hard towards something, and once you get it, you're supposed to feel good about getting it. And now the problem is people aren't willing to put in that work because they're not getting that instant dopamine hit. So you find people finding things that are meant to be hard but rewarding, not wanting to do them at all. And a lot of people might ask, how do I get back on this path of getting good dopamine as opposed to the instant kind of gratification? And I think that comes from taking a break from your screen, doing hard things with no rewards, just like I talked about, but just enjoying that process, going out on walks without any kind of music, without a podcast, just thinking to yourself, no noise. I think cold showers also help, deep conversations with other people, journaling, sitting in kind of that discomfort instead of avoiding it. And it's not a punishment. Don't view it as a punishment, because then you're not going to want to go through it and complete it. Think of it as a reset. Think of it as, I need to do this in order to clean my brain of everything that's been going on. And you'll find that after a while, you start to enjoy the simple things again. Everything from your mundane task in your life to a walk down the street to a talk with a stranger has meaning. You find purpose. And you find that you crave presence, not stimulation. So if you've been feeling numb, kind of sometimes like me, like life's gone gray around the edges, you're not broken, your brain is just very tired. Maybe it's time to stop chasing that next hit and start feeling again, for real. And yeah, love.